JJ Redick is right to ask Anthony Davis to shoot more threes, technically. But it's not that simple or as impactful as you might think. For starters, I want to be very clear about the way that I'm interpreting what JJ Redick, the new head coach of the Lakers, has said about wanting Anthony Davis to shoot more threes. I don't think that he wants AD shooting like 7 threes a game and fundamentally changing the way that he plays basketball. That would be ridiculous. AD has a fantastic face-up game. He's an absolutely dynamic finisher at the basket and a monster in the paint. And he's not a good three-point shooter. But what I've also taken away from JJ's comments is that he doesn't want him taking long twos. And that's the big difference here. I don't believe that JJ Redick thinks he's going to turn AD into some gunner from three, creating all this space for the entire team. I just think he wants to eliminate the long two from AD's shot diet and get him to take a couple steps back to make those three-point attempts. So in this video, we're going to break down some very basic numbers to see if he's right. Like, subscribe, and let's get into it. Now here's a disclaimer for the nerds and the old heads alike. I am not using some kind of advanced analytic tools, some wonky numbers that you've never heard of or you can't comprehend in this video. I don't have access to any special databases with all of these intricate numbers that these teams can compile and use to make their decisions or the big networks have. I'm not Bobby Marks or the machine Kevin Pelton. Nor am I some kind of analytical genius that's going to show you some brand new way of breaking down these numbers and the data to make every single one of your decisions and ignore your eye test. Eye test matters, analytics matter. Everything I'm doing here today, you can do too. I'm using Basketball Reference for the data points and I'm spot checking with StatMuse. Both are free and both can easily be found with a simple Google search. So let's break it down. I'm using last year's percentages for this analysis because while his career three-point percentage is slightly higher than what it was last year, that's being propped up by time he spent in New Orleans and the bubble season. I think last year's numbers are more reflective of the shooter that Anthony Davis is today. So those numbers from last year were 16.9 shots per game in 76 games, totaling 1,283 shots. Of those, 9% came from 16 feet out to the three-point line, and that is what we are going to consider a long two in this video. On those long twos, he shot 36.5%. By comparison, 8.3% of his shots came from behind the three-point line, on which he shot 27.1%. So if we were to do some nerdy math, what it would tell us is that he shot about 115 long twos and 107 threes. So from here, we can project that he made 42 long twos last year, which would have netted him out 84 total points. Compare that to his 29 threes that he made, which would total 87 points. So the question is it better for AD to shoot a long two and make it at a 36.5% clip, or to take that step or two back to extend it to the three-point line and make it at 27.1%? Back to the nerdy math, if he were to step back on those 115 long twos that he took, we would estimate or project that he would have made 31 additional three-point shots instead of 42 long twos. That's worth 93 points, 9 points higher than the 84 that he actually scored. So the basic math would tell you that he should step back to the three-point line. However, with greater volume tends to come lower percentages. That's true for just about anything in statistics. In recent years after the bubble, when threes were a little bit more heavy in AD's shot diet, his percentages were not as strong as it was last year. So for fun, let's take a look at what those would have netted out on last year's volume. We've already seen that last year he would have scored 9 additional points if he would have extended those long twos to three. In the 22-23 season, he shot 25.7% from three-point range, which would have netted him out 4 additional points. In 21-22, he shot just 18.6%. And that would have been a net loss of 20 points over the course of the season. Back in 2021, he shot 26% from three, which would have been 6 additional points. So outside of 21-22, when he played just 40 games and had just a myriad of injuries, we would have seen a net gain. So I'm inclined to say that JJ is right. AD would be better off eliminating the long twos from his shot diet and taking that step back to 3. But it's not that monumental of a difference. And if his 3-point percentage were to drop just a little bit, it becomes a negative impact very, very quickly. In fact, if more than doubling his 3-point attempts were to drop his percentage from 27.1% down to just 25%, it becomes a net loss in his effectiveness. And let's be real, he's not being guarded at the 3-point line whether he's shooting 27% or 25%. So it's not really about creating a bunch of space for others. This is all about taking a slightly more efficient shot. And for AD, that slightly is razor thin. So thin, in fact, I'd say statistically speaking, it's probably a losing battle. What do you think of AD shooting more threes? And did you enjoy this fun little statistical analysis? Do you want to see more of them on the channel? Let me know in the comments section, and while you're down there, go ahead and like the video so that YouTube knows it doesn't suck, and subscribe to the channel so that I know you want me to make more of them. And while I'm working on them, you can watch this one.